All right, welcome to another episode of Powerhouse Conversations, where sports, business, and tech intersect to help athletes and athletic departments succeed both on and off their field of play. At Dream Big Sports, we empower athletes with the skills and the tools that they need to master business acumen and technology for long-term success. Today's guest, we have a Moby, former professional soccer player, founder of A Frugal Athlete, and co-founder of Serve Consulting. He's passionate about helping athletes build their financial literacy, grow their brands, and transition into entrepreneurship. Today, we'll dive into Amobi's journey, the athlete CEO mindset, financial literacy, navigating NIL opportunities, and some key strategies for career development. Moby, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I know this has been in the works since we first met about a year or so ago out in LA. So definitely thank you for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. And it's like you said, the first time we met, but we had known each other from before. It's just the power of network, and it's a pleasure to be on. You're doing some amazing things, and I'm happy to share my story.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So we'll start with just your journey from becoming from an athlete to an entrepreneur. Transitioning from professional soccer to entrepreneurship. It's not easy, but tell me about how you began to prepare for life after sports during your playing career.
It's a great question. So yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown. First generation Nigerian American, born and raised in California. Played soccer and basketball growing up till soccer took over, and just very fortunate to play at a high level at a young age, which led me to a lot of different experiences and opportunities. Ultimately went pro. And I always tell people, when you're a professional athlete, you're automatically an entrepreneur. You got to do things in terms of like perform at a high level. You got to deal with agents. You got to deal with coaches and GMs and different things like that. So you're already an entrepreneur. But from the business standpoint, in terms of my transition, I had started some entrepreneurial things while I was playing. You mentioned a frugal athlete. That was kind of my first foray into the space. And that's kind of what opened up so many doors into what I'm doing now actively as co-founder of Serve Consulting, founder of Frugal Athlete. Everything's under Serve Consulting now. So that's essentially it. Trying to help athletes, trying to help brands, and trying to be that facilitator of sorts.
Yeah, a frugal athlete is where I found you. Like inspiring, just the work ethic, the amount of interviews you were putting out, the consistency and how you did it. What inspired you to start it?
Man, thank you so much, because that was a grind. I think for me, It was more about my own curiosities. When I first started a frugal athlete, it was motivated by the Broke documentary, the 30 for 30 Broke documentary.
Okay.
And it was like everyone's talking about athletes that are losing their money, and there's so many individuals that are bad with money, but obviously athletes being trendsetters, being in the spotlight, we're gonna have the light on us. But how come we couldn't talk about it from a positive standpoint? And so that's why I started a frugal athlete. How can we find where are the athletes that we can use as role models that are doing it right? They may not be like the LeBron James, the Tom Brady's, the Serena Williams of the world, but they are doing it right in terms of their transition, in terms of how they utilize their money and how they leverage their platform. And that's what it was all about, leveraging my opportunity as an athlete to open up some other doors and expose some of the behind the scenes and the information that we don't hear about, or the media doesn't like to talk about because it doesn't get as many clicks. So that's kind of where a frugal athlete started off as a blog, and then it advanced into the podcast, and then ultimately a media platform, which is now transformed into some of the stuff we do from the business side.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that's something I definitely like to highlight. And when I go speak is starting now, whenever while you're an athlete, starting and putting things in place. If it's vlogging, if it's social media, if it's speaking engagements, whatever. If it's a brand, if it's merch, whatever it is, start while you're an athlete. So, what are some of the suggestions that you try to give out, as an athlete, and building that platform or whatever that endeavor is while you're still an athlete?
Now, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's starting now. And it doesn't have to be you need to start the business and have to open up a media
Hmm.
company or start franchising, but you need to start the process of understanding how you can utilize your talent on the field to expand for opportunities off the field. Whether it's taking advantage of the resources and access you have to different sponsors or different executives or
Hmm.
different sources of information. Um, you know, uh, One of my buddies that I used to connect with quite a bit around his transition was like he would utilize his off days for informational interviews. He'd look at the corporate sponsors that sponsored his team. He would work with his team admin to coordinate, how to get in touch with them. And every Tuesday, because in NFL, I guess Tuesdays were their off days, he would make sure he'd spend, an hour, 30 minutes to an hour every day trying to have a conversation with somebody. And that's perfect if that's, your cup of tea. If you want to go more, obviously you can do a little bit more. But I would say whatever it is, start. Definitely build your digital ecosystem. So make sure you have at the very least LinkedIn. Your Instagram is basically your website these days. If you can get a website, I would highly recommend having that home base of having a website. Making sure your socials are intact. That's another one, and you find out your strengths on the field that you could translate off the field. So if you're always getting asked to do interviews, that there might be a reason for that. You might be a good public
Yeah.
speaker. You might be,
Right.
well spoken or eloquent. What are some things that you can do off the field that fit to that mold? Public speaking, motivational speaking, broadcasting, blogging, media. So that's one. Are you someone that's always connecting the different cultures on the team? So, for example, as a soccer player, it's a global game. We were connected with people from all over Latin America, Africa, Europe, Eastern Europe, Asia, North America, different parts of North America. That involves being able to not only build a team but understand different cultures, to understand network. What are some things you know in the corporate space that fit to that mold of being able to network and be able to get along with different folks, and find those different type of roles or different types of opportunities. Some people think of that as like maybe an agent. Some people think of that as customer success. Some people think of that as strategy and ops. But things that you do on the field easily translate over to off the field. You just gotta find time to sit down and allocate and really dive into what that might be.
No, for sure. I think you just dropped the gem for everybody, right? Just even with the from the standpoint of like your team sponsors and just doing information, like I think that is so key for different athletes in the sense of like you have the access and the network right there in front of you. So
Already.
taking advantage of that and like just hitting them up and having that conversation like, hey, I play for the team that you sponsor. Like I would love to just come in and just talk to you a little bit about what you're doing. It could lead to a job, it could lead to sponsorships, it could lead to whatever it may be. But it's relationships that you're building, and and the one thing about that is that person may go somewhere else. You never know where that will lead to, and
You
that's
hit the
big.
nail on the head. Yeah, that the best thing you said about that is that person may go someone else. So now you've not only built the relationship with the current corporate sponsor,
Yep.
but as they go and climb up the ladder and go to other companies, they're going to remember you for all the work that you put in. And I want you and that's how networking, that's how building businesses
Yep.
ultimately happens.
And even as an athlete, like they most brands will like that initiative that you took. Like
Exactly.
that stands out. He's different. She's different. Like that's gonna stand out, and that's gonna be something that's definitely big. Which also that leads me right into my next. You can talk to me a little bit about the athlete CEO mindset. Like tell me a little bit about how you came up with that.
Yeah, so as we got more and more into what a frugal athlete, what we were doing, we were realizing a common theme. Athletes were thinking of themselves as enterprises. So we think every athlete is an enterprise, no matter how big or small, that you need to think of yourself as a business. And frugal athlete was more catered to or siloed into like the personal finance, the financial literacy, the wealth management
Hmm.
aspect of it. But when we started to take a holistic view, it was more like, no, you're the CEO, and we've broken down CEO. Obviously, you think of CEO as Chief Executive Officer, but we think of it as athlete. Obviously, that's the main character. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. But C
Hmm.
stands for, in our definition, is the creator, and then E is for the entrepreneur, and then O is for the operator. So through those different silos, obviously starting with athlete, you can find your way. You can find out a way to become an athlete CEO, ultimately to become an enterprise. And also we have the S part of it, but we don't include that in the acronym. That's for like speaker, storyteller, because a lot of
Yep.
athletes are finding very fruitful careers as motivational speakers, storytellers, broadcasters, different things like that. But we've
Yep.
been able to break down into those three silos
Hmm.
of what the athlete entrepreneurial enterprise looks like if they follow that CEO playbook.
I love it. I love it. I remember a post that you when you were breaking this down about the athlete CEO, and you were talking about like just some of the how you if you think about yourself as an enterprise, how, the people and the team that you need to create around you. So tell me a little bit about like how important it is for the athlete to have a team to be that CEO.
Yeah, it's very important. You can't do it alone. Everyone talks about, even like from the standpoint of like individual sports like golf and tennis. Golf has a caddy and and a trainer and an agent, and so if you want to go
Hmm.
fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to find your team. So when we talk about the athlete CEO, and obviously not everyone has the budget to have a manager and an agent and a stylist and a partnerships guy and a podcast person, but there's different things that you need to think about as you build your team. And so we'll just start off with like our starting five. Obviously you need an attorney, someone that's going to protect you. You need an accountant, someone that's going to look after your money from a tax standpoint. And then in this case, we'll say you need like an agent or an admin, someone to look over
Hmm.
contracts, keep you up to date,
Hmm.
manager, uh, someone that can help you with the business side of things.
Hmm.
Those are like probably the four main ones. And then if you want like a social strategist, creative strategist
Hmm.
to help you from a social standpoint, that's very important. Um, but in terms of like the immediate three that you need, attorney, accountant, and agent, that's like we call
Yep.
that the AAA battery pack. But then within that, it gets so expansive based on how you want to go about it.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I've been talking about is, even as a student athlete, what's really big is you can build that team like from people that's around you, right? Like we talked about,
Exactly.
like, hey, can't afford certain things, but like just think about who's on campus or who's in the business department that wants to be a social like in social media. Like you're a star athlete. Hey, go pull this person along. Especially when you're at smaller schools, you may, like you said, you may not have the budget where the big agencies are coming after you, but you can build that team with people that are beside you. And then the one thing about that is also you're building a team of people that you can trust and they grow with you, right? So now
Exactly.
now you don't have people that are coming in just to try to take advantage of you. You built a team that's gonna that of people that are hungry and ready to hustle, and they're learning and growing with you and growing with your brand. So I think that's important as well.
No, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Just like you can't always network up in terms of trying to figure out,
Yep.
people. You got to network across. So even if you're on campus, you go to the grad school program, and you're like, yo, any
Hmm.
incoming lawyers that want to look over contracts,
Yep.
or you go to the film school and say, yo, I'm looking to build up my YouTube channel. I'd love for anyone.
Yep.
Obviously, you got to work out agreements with them and stuff like that. But
Yep.
when you build together, the process is just a little bit sweeter.
Yep. Yep. Nope. I love it. I love it. So I know with the rise of NIL, personal brandings, how do you advise athletes, on balancing being a student athlete, but also, like I said, building their professional careers and things of that nature?
No, that's a great point. So when it comes to NIL, obviously we think of it as name, image, and likeness. So I like to look at it a different way. When we come, and I love the acronyms. We're always trying to use acronyms, as you know. So N is like for your network. So you mentioned, finding people
Mhm.
at your campus that you can work with and build up with. So what's your network look like? What's your network ecosystem? What's your network effect look like? You got your college, you got your alumni database, you got your teachers, you got your high school programs, you got the people that are contacting you. How can you take advantage of your network? Obviously for NIL opportunities. Then you have the I, you share IP. So you think of name, image, and likeness. We just jumble everything under that IP. And then within that IP, what are the things that you're creating that you keep? You've seen a lot of times athletes will create logos in conjunction with the brands that they work with, and then they leave the brand and they can't even take their logo with them. So, what is the
Yeah.
IP that you're creating that you're going to own? And then L is for leverage. What are you? These are the best 4 years. If you stay all 4 years of your life, that's what they say when it comes to sports. You know, it's you got to an ingrained data, like you got an ingrained fan base already from your school.
Yep.
You got,
Yep.
the balance of not having it when it's like a, well, now it's starting to get like to the pro level, but you have 4 years to like make it the best 4 years of your life. Obviously with NIL now, it's a little bit based on performance even more, where they can revoke your NIL money and different things like that, your collective money. But how are you leveraging the eyeballs that are on you automatically? And so that's what we talk about when it comes to when we speak to student athletes in terms of how to take advantage of NIL, to just think of it differently and not just say, all right, what are the collectives going to pay me? What's the school
Right.
going to pay me for coming here? It's like, no, how can I take advantage of this network and utilize my IP to leverage opportunities? Um, and it's really just tapping into that CEO mindset. You have a head start because you're going to be able to start earlier with NIL, giving you the opportunity to even start in high school in some states. So obviously, in hindsight, I'm kind of jealous that these student athletes have this opportunity, but they also have
Yeah.
a lot of pressure too. They have a lot of pressure, and then a lot of them are overcompensating to try to make as much money while they're in college. And I know some athletes don't have the future of playing professionally, so they want to utilize and maximize the opportunity that they
Yep.
have now. But it's a balance. You got to keep the main thing. And while you're in college, it is your grades, because if you're not eligible, you can't play. Availability is better than ability. Then from there, it's your performance on the field, because there's always, with the transfer portal and incoming freshmen and um, all the different people that are looking to get your spot. You got to perform at a high level to take advantage. And then from there, obviously you're in college. You want to balance your social life. You want to balance, your
Yep.
family time. You want to balance being able to have time to do work. So if you have a heavy course load and then you're in season, but then you have all these deals that you got to continue to build the deliverables on, it's going to be very
Yep.
tough. So that's why you need your team in place. That's why you need to be organized. That's why you can't just sign every deal just to sign it. There's a lot that goes on behind NIL that not a lot of people see. And
Yep.
I'm glad we're talking about it, that you brought up that great point.
No, I think that's a really good point, because you got to like, it's always said like, man, I wish that we had NIL, but then when you start thinking about and talking about all of the things that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially when you're at that level, while still going to school, while still going to class, and still, like you said, the transfer portal is another thing, because now you're talking about, okay, I'm fighting for my, like, literally my job
Yeah,
to a certain
every
extent. Like I'm
semester.
fighting every semester, every year, every, like, so it's a flip side of, like, okay, everybody's looking at, oh, well, they're just jumping from team to team, on from from money to money, like whatever, whoever gives the most money. But then it's like, okay, well, you have to balance it. You have to balance what the right opportunity is for you to play, to stay on the field. You have to balance all these different things, and I think that's important to understand. That they are tasked with a lot. They're tasked with a lot.
Yeah, most definitely, man. It's really tough, but I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully, as the NCAA continues to figure out ways to make it better, it'll help the student athletes moving forward.
No, absolutely. I think that's something that's big. And when that's the thing, that when people think about NIL and what the NCAA, like, with the new ruling that's supposed to come down, and they're going to allow for schools to pay out from the revenue and things of that nature. So it's like, okay, it's becoming less and less of amateur athletes, but then it still gives the guardrails of the schools being able to funnel some money to them, because as if we're keeping it real, then it's really the top percent of athletes that are getting true NIL deals with deliverables, and then most of the opportunities coming from collectives and things of that nature. While if you take your mindset of, hey, take ownership of it, and then you're going and finding your own opportunities and you're building your own brand, that's where the sweet spot of, like, you're building yourself, you're positioning yourself for long term and for opportunities afterwards. And I think that's really big.
No, yeah, exactly. And you're getting so many skills in the process too.
Yes.
You can take into your next profession, whether it's on the professional ranks in the sport or into the corporate space or entrepreneurship space, whatever you fall into. The things that you're doing now, those insights and lessons that you learned while in college, are going to be invaluable for you.
Yeah, and I think that tell me a little bit about what you're doing at Serve Consulting, and just like from an overall standpoint of helping athletes build their brands and strategic partnerships. What's some of the strategies that you teach?
No, thank you so much. Yeah, so our main goals with Serve Consulting is that we help athletes and talents become enterprises, and then we help brands and companies with their go-to-market strategies through content and talent relations. So we're a full-service, small boutique company. I hate to say the word small, but I mean, compared to the CAAs and the Wassermans,
right.
Let's be realistic. But we want to take a different approach, and it's been like each step in my career, both as a player to now entrepreneur, has led to this moment to what we're doing now. And ultimately, we want to help athletes. We're sort of their facilitators for building that holistic view in terms of what it looks like to build a business, and not just a brand, but a business. So, what does that look like? It could be building out content. It could becoming a speaker. It could be transitioning to a corporate job. It could be, you want to, find the right agent and financial advisor and creative team for you. We help facilitate those opportunities and those that game plan to hopefully help the athlete or talent become ultimately an enterprise. Because it could even be building digital products. It could be building courses. It could be building in real life products like food spice companies, whatever it is. We help incubate and iterate and execute on that.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about, like, just some of the we're big on the, like I said, the intersection of sports, tech, and business. So tell me a little bit about some of the technologies that you're using or leveraging to build your businesses.
No, that's a great question. So I'm using everything right now. I need to consolidate because you'll buy something and you're like, damn, I don't even use this software.
Right.
But my main ones right now is Notion. Notion is a big one.
Love Notion.
Airtable. So I'm trying to figure out if I just move everything to Notion. But right now, Airtable and Notion are the two big ones in terms of project management, CRM, and just overall day to day. The whole G Suite, so Gmail, Google Sheets, Google Task, all that. Canva is another one. In terms of content, Canva, CapCut, Captions, those three is all you need. My business partner, he actually uses Descript, so he likes Descript, but I use Captions, CapCut, and Canva. Another one we use is Opus Clips. Opus Clips just for being able to cut content a little bit better. Loom. Yeah. What else? That's it. My Apple Notes. So I'm literally always talking to myself in Apple Notes. Those are probably the main ones. I'm trying to think. Yeah, those are probably the main ones.
Those sound like everything I'm using on a day-to-day basis, man. I love it. So when you think about that, creating your tech stack, right? So as a student athlete, you have to use these things to make your life a lot easier. Like you said, using Notion as your second brain, like housing all your information that you need, and then even Notion AI and being able to put all your stuff.
I didn't even say ChatGPT. Yeah, I'm asleep. Yeah,
Chat GPT. And that's what I'm using a lot to just build certain things. So I have them side by side, Chat GPT and then Notion, and I send it off to my virtual assistant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whatever I need to work on, and I'm iterating, and but just housing all of the information that I need, creating different pages, and then having the different information in each of those pages. It's a game changer. And then being able to use that to create the content, and then take that
Exactly.
information and move it over there. So it's very important to learn how to use these different content, because the biggest thing that I would say is that if you're learning how to use it now, then you're thinking about the transferable skills that you'll have later. Because every single time the last time I just posted a clip about this, I asked one of I was at a high school. I asked one of the players, like, how long do you think, best case scenario, do you think you're going to play? It's like, he told me 20 years. I was like, you're having a LeBron career right, if you play 20 years. But I said that's best case scenario, right? You're
Yeah.
you're roughly 38, 40, like whatever that is. You still got a lot of life to live after that.
Still got a lot of life.
Best case scenario. Best
Yeah.
case scenario. And that's the greatest case scenario, right? You still got a lot of life to live, so that those transferable skills that you're building are going to be so invaluable. And that's why I always say that if you don't learn how, like, everybody's scared of what AI is doing, everybody's scared of AI taking their job. I always tell them, if you're scared of AI, it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's going to be a person that knows how to use AI better than you that's going to take your
Exactly.
job.
Yeah.
So,
How to build prompts, how to organize
yep,
AI. Yeah, it's exactly. It's meant to enhance your workflow, not
hmm
replace. If
yep,
done right.
yep. It doesn't replace it, because what you put in is what you're going to get back out.
Yeah.
If you put bad in, you'll get
Yeah.
bad out. You're not going to get a lot of information, or you're going to
Yeah.
get bad. You're going to get bad information. It's only as smart as you make it. So I
Exactly.
think that's important.
And it's not like
Yeah,
it's not like AI can use itself. Someone has to be
yeah,
plugging
yeah,
and playing. So
yep. No, so as we wrap up, I'm loving everything that we had a discussion about. It was a great discussion. I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about some of the things that are important to you, that you want to make sure that everybody's taking away.
no, I appreciate you, man, giving me the platform. It's good to connect again. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other on the circuit soon.
Absolutely.
Um, for me, no, just athletes. I think right now we're in a unique space where brands, companies, consumers, fans are starting to realize the power that athletes have, not only just as athletes, because live sports is literally one of the few places where people can get that attention in real time now.
Yep.
Um, there's more to you than just being an athlete. You're an enterprise. The future of creators, influencers, trendsetters, business folks it's here, and you're starting to see more brands invest in that. So I would say find ways to utilize and own your own IP. So whether it's creating a newsletter, YouTube channel, things that are a little bit more sticky than just like the TikToks and the Instagrams of the world. Not to say don't take advantage of those platforms, but in order to really build something sticky, you got to find a way to own and have more integration within your own stuff. So whether it's a newsletter, like a YouTube channel, series that you create, logos, digital products, what are things that you own in that realm, and then continue to highlight your story, continue to share insights, continue to double down on your domain expertise. I think a lot of people talk about sports, but it's important to remember the fact that you're elite. Like everyone can't go and play at a top college. Not everyone's a professional athlete. So double down on the fact that you're a subject matter expert and you have domain expertise that could translate to so many different things. So for example, quick tangent is that so I played on 3 different expansion teams. Expansion teams essentially is a startup in sports.
Yep.
So that means I could translate to startups in tech. I know what it's like to, not have everything in place when you're trying to build a culture, a team to produce results on the fly. It's just all about how you craft your story. You know,
Yep.
what does it look like in terms of sports media, sports tech, sports real estate, sports private equity, sports properties? These are all things that you automatically kind of know. It's just how do you talk about it from your standpoint as a thought leader, subject matter expert.
No, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to end it, man. The storytelling, like how you view what has. How do you take what your experience throughout your career, and how do you tell that story
Yeah,
for the rest of your life, right?
exactly.
Just anytime you've had an interview, anytime you go talk to somebody, how are you able to take what your experience and the path that you went and be able to tell that story clearly, concisely, and something in a way that's going to be engaging for people to be able to latch on to you and like you, because people do business with people and they need to connect you with you as a person. So that's important.
Yeah, exactly, man. So, man, thanks again, man. It's great to connect with you again, and appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So thank you all for joining us for another Powerhouse Conversations brought to you by Dream Big Sports. Make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights on sports, business, and technology. Follow us as we help athletes succeed on and off their field of play. Thanks. Good episode, man. Good
No, I
episode.
appreciate you. I know I got to stay on until it like finishes uploading, or